Hi, I'm William Curley, and today I'm going to be making my chestnut and maple Buche. It's one of my favourite desserts, and it looks pretty impressive too. So why don't you come and cook along with me? The first step is to make the hazelnut and almond Duckworts. Firstly, we take our unsalted butter and we melt that over a low heat. Simultaneously, we take our egg whites and we put this on a low speed. And we gradually build the speed up and we start to add our beautiful maple sugar. And this is going to add lots and lots of flavour to the Duckworts. It's going to give it a great bit of texture on the base and just add another dimension to the dessert. Just bring the speed up until we're on full. So the meringue is coming nice and full, as you can see. Looking good. Meringue, like so. So we now have a fully whisked meringue, and we've got all our dry ingredients, which we sieved earlier. We have some ground almonds, we have some ground hazelnuts, we have some beautiful maple sugar, and we have some corn flour. And we just mix this together. And then add half to the mixture, and with a spatula start to mix the dry ingredients into the meringue. And then take your butter, pour it into the mixing bowl. Now, little tip with the butter, it's best to warm the butter, not too hot, and just let it sit so it cools down. If it's warm and it goes into the Duckworts, it can take all the air out of the Duckworts and you lose that beautiful structure. So add just a spoonful of the Duckworts to the butter and mix it together, and this helps it incorporate into the main mixture easier. So just mix that through nice and gently, not to overmix the Duckworts. So baking tray lined with silicone paper. And with your spatula, just very carefully spread that out. So got a nice even spread. So once you've got it nice and evenly spread, we're going to pop that in the oven for approximately 18 to 20 minutes at 170 degrees Celsius. But always best to have a little check, maybe after about 15 minutes, just in case your oven could be a little bit different. So next, we're now going to make the chocolate sponge. Firstly, take your eggs and your egg yolks and put them in the mixing bowl. Add the beautiful maple sugar, mix together, and then put this on a bain-marie, so a pan with hot water, but not boiling. Continuously whisk your eggs and egg yolks and sugar mixture until it reaches 40 degrees Celsius, approximately. And then take your mixture, put it in a mixing bowl, and then whisk this up to a sabayon. Simultaneously, melt your butter, so it's not too hot, just warm, and then sieve together your flour, corn flour, and cocoa powder. Once your sabayon has formed, add the dry ingredients and mix until smooth. Take a spoonful out and mix with the butter, then add this mixture back and mix again until smooth. And then spread your mixture onto a baking tray, nice and evenly, and bake at 180 degrees Celsius for approximately 10 minutes. So we're now going to make the milk chocolate and praline crispy wafer. Firstly, take the milk chocolate and place this over a bain-marie and melt to between 40 and 45 degrees Celsius. Once that has melted, add the praline paste, and finally add the fondue wafer and mix in well. And pour this out into a silicone-lined baking tray and spread to 3 millimeters thick. Allow to set in a cool, dry place, and then use when you're ready to make your Buche. So we're now going to make the chocolate glaçage, and that's going to be the beautiful exterior that coats our chestnut and maple Buche. We firstly take our gelatine and we put this into iced cold water, leaf by leaf. And the reason we put it into ice cold water is if the water is a little bit warm, it takes out some of the strength of the gelatin. And we leave that in here for 2-3 minutes just to soften up. And then simultaneously, we take our water and we take our maple sugar. So we're just going to give it a little whisk so we don't get any sugar crystals on the base of the pan. Once the sugar and water solution has boiled, we then add the cream and we mix in our sieved cocoa powder. And just mix this until it becomes nice and smooth, then bring it back to the boil for a further 3-4 minutes on a low heat. So that's now been boiling on a low heat for about 4 minutes and it's looking good. And we're then going to drain off the gelatin, just get off the excess water, and then we add our gelatin into the chocolate mixture and then just mix that through until all the gelatin is dissolved in the chocolate syrup. So once the gelatin has fully dissolved in the liquid, we then pass it through a fine sieve. We do that, of course, just to make sure there's no little lumps in the mixture. So we're now going to make the chestnut and maple mousse. This is a vital part of the dish. It sits right in the centre of the buche and it really gives us bags of flavour. Firstly, take the gelatin and place it into ice cold water and allow it to soak for 2 to 3 minutes. Simultaneously, we add our maple syrup, and I like to use a dark maple syrup for this dish. And then we add the chestnuts. So chestnut puree. Give it a little mix and then bring it to the boil. And as that's coming to the boil, we can take our double cream and we're going to place that into our mixing bowl. And we're just going to whisk that to a soft peak. So the cream is now soft peak. So now we just pop that in the fridge for a minute, and the gelatin is now nice and soft. So again, we're just going to strain that off and then pop that in to our chestnut and maple mixture. And just mix until the gelatin totally dissolves. And then using a hand blender, we're just going to give it a little blitz just to make it nice and smooth. Mix is nice and smooth. You've got this beautiful chestnut in there, and you've got this wonderful, wonderful maple syrup, which really adds a great depth of flavour to this dish. And really, everything that I do in my business is all about getting flavour. Without flavour, you're nothing. And the maple syrup really brings that to life. And a little bit of rum. And again, that's going to add another dimension to this dish. Just carefully mix that in. And then just put that to the side for 2-3 minutes, just let it cool down slightly. So we'll have our whipped double cream. Take maybe half the cream and carefully mix that together. So the last bit of cream now, just carefully fold that through the chestnut and maple mixture so it becomes nice and smooth. So we're now going to pop that in the fridge for 25-30 minutes just to let it set up. So we're now going to make our dark chocolate mousse. Now chocolate is what I'm all about. And I've got a beautiful dark chocolate here. All the beans come from South America to make the chocolate, approximately 66% cocoa content. You can use something a little bit stronger if you wish, depends on your taste, your flavour, etc. And it works amazingly well with maple. So we're going to put our dark chocolate in a bain-marie and we're going to melt that over a low heat to approximately 45 degrees Celsius. Now simultaneously we're going to take our whipping cream and we're going to whisk that to a soft peak. And from time to time, just give your chocolate a little mix. As you can see, our cream has now reached soft peak stage. Just pop that in the fridge. We're now going to make our sabayon. Firstly, take the egg yolks and pour them into the mixing bowl. And put that onto a low speed. Then take our water and our beautiful maple sugar. So we bring our sugar and water solution to the boil, and then we continue to cook to 121 degrees Celsius. And what this does is when it goes into the egg yolk mixture, it kills all the bacteria that's in there and helps give us a beautiful, beautiful, light, delicate sabayon. Then take your syrup and very slowly string it into the sabayon. And just keep it on a low speed when you're doing this, otherwise the syrup will go everywhere. Gosh, it smells divine. All that beautiful maple. Once all the syrup's inside the sabayon, back up to a full speed and bring up to a nice, light, fluffy mixture. So we've got a beautiful, light, maple sabayon. So we're now going to add the sabayon to the whipped cream. Just add it all in once, nice and quickly, and then mix. Looking good. And we're going to add approximately 1/3 of the sabayon cream mixture to the chocolate. Very quickly mix this in, very, very quickly. Key, the first part, you go extra, extra fast. Effectively, it creates a very smooth base. Another 1/3 of the mixture. Again, working fast. This time you're really starting to keep all that beautiful air in the sabayon into the mousse. And then the final third. Nice and carefully. Just get that mousse right underneath. Right to the base of the bowl. And there we are, our beautiful dark chocolate and maple mousse. Gosh, you could just jump into that, couldn't you? So we're now going to put together our chestnut and maple buche. So we have the buche mould, and I've actually lined this with a little bit of plastic, which just helps when we're taking the buche out of the mould. And then generously place 3-4 spoons of the chocolate mousse into the tureen. And using a small palette knife, just gradually bring the mousse up the side of the moulds. Just make sure it's nice and even. You can smell all that beautiful maple. And I'm a massive fan of maple syrup. But the best maple in the world is from Canada, particularly Quebec, where they boil the syrup down from the maple trees and it gives this beautiful, viscous, rich, flavoursome syrup that I adore. So our chocolate mousse is lined in the mould, and we're now going to put our chestnut mousse into the tureen. We're going to pipe very carefully right along the centre, and then very carefully with a little palette knife just spread the mousse out and fill in any gaps that you can see. We then take some comfy chestnut, meringue glacé, and generously place that on top of the chestnut and maple mousse. It's looking good. Let's give it a little press down. Lovely. Then take a chocolate sponge that we made earlier. I've pre-cut this so it sort of fits right on top of the chestnut and maple mousse. And again, just give that a nice little press. And as you press, you'll see the chestnut mousse just kind of pushing up a little bit on the sides. So we're now going to soak our chocolate sponge with a little bit of maple and rum syrup. Just add the maple syrup and just carefully start to brush it on to the sponge. Now, maple syrup is so diverse, it's such a natural sweetener, and it's a great alternative to processed sugar. And it's very, very diverse. You can use it in so many desserts and pastries and cakes and ice creams and chocolates. Be generous with the syrup on the chocolate sponge, because it's really important you get all that flavour into that sponge. So we now add a little bit more chocolate mousse. You can smell the maple coming through, beautiful smell. Then we take our crispy milk chocolate and Florentine wafer on top of the chocolate mousse. And finally, guess what? Another bit of this beautiful chocolate mousse. Looking good. And the final part of the jigsaw is to place the Duckworts on the top, like so. And then we're going to put this in the freezer for 3 to 4 hours so it comes nice and firm, and then we're going to finish our Buche. So we've just demoulded our chocolate, maple and chestnut Buche from the tureen, and we're now just carefully going to take the plastic that we lined the mould with. And then we've got our chocolate glaze. It's now come down to room temperature. It's beautiful and shiny. I'm just going to go side to side to fully coat our Buche. Just check that it's fully coated, then just get a little tap so the excess glaze will drop off. And then there we are. Bang. So we're now going to decorate our chestnut and maple Buche. You can decorate it how you want it at home. You can keep it very, very simple, very clean. In fact, you could leave it as it is. But I'll do it how I do it in my little business, and we're going to put a few little touches on it. Voila! So here we are, our chestnut, chocolate and maple extravaganza. I hope you've enjoyed watching me cook this today. And if you want to see more exciting recipes, make sure to follow Maple Canada UK on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. Delicious.